This is an account of the persecution, imprisonment, and shooting of anarchists in the early years of the so-called Cuban Revolution. During the 1950s, the anarchist movement actively fought against the Batista regime. Anarchists fought the dictatorship alongside various guerrilla groups and even participated in the 26th of July movement. When Fidel Castro established a Stalinist government in 1959, the persecution of the libertarian movement began. First, the communists expelled the anarcho-syndicalists from the Cuban Workers' Union, and then the anarchist newspapers were closed down. Later, in 1960, anarchism was banned in Cuba and its militants were forced to go underground. The Cuban state considered anarchists to be bandits and proceeded to assassinate them. Augusto Sanchez, guerrilla fighter, was killed after being taken prisoner. Rolando Tamago, Sebastian Aguilar, and Ventura Suarez were fighters who were shot. Eusebio Otero was found murdered in his room. Raul Negrin, harassed by the persecution, committed suicide by setting himself on fire. Francisco Aguirre died in prison. Victoriano Hernandez, sick and blinded by prison torture, committed suicide. Jose Alvarez Mitchell Torino died a few weeks after his release from prison. In 1962, the following militant activists were in Cuban prisons: Placido Mendez, ex-combatant of the Escambre guerrillas, for opposing the totalitarian measures of the new regime, 12 years in prison. Antonio Dagas, member of the CNT, ex-combatant in the Spanish Civil War, he had conspired against Batista and continued to do so against the Castro regime. Isidro Mosque was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Surya Linswarin was serving a lesser sentence. Luis M. Sinswarin, trade unionist who confronted Stalinism within the labor movement, earning the hatred of the Leninist leaders and in particular Raul Castro, whom he tried to execute in revenge for his repressive acts. He was sentenced to death, but this was commuted to life imprisonment. Sandalio Torres, accused of so-called counter-revolutionary activities, i.e. anarchist activism, sentenced to 10 years in prison. He was tortured, and on 4 occasions his execution was faked. Jose Acina, veteran combatant in the 26th of July movement against Batista, sentenced to 20 years in prison. Alberto Garcia also fought against Batista in the 26th of July movement. He was falsely accused of so-called counter-revolutionary activities and sentenced to 30 years in prison. In a short time, the so-called communist government put an end to the libertarian resistance and established the dictatorship of the party.